Hello viewers, welcome to my YouTube channel. In this video, I will take you through how to identify aspects of style in the excerpt. And this will be a follow-up lesson on how to handle excerpt questions. We began with how to identify character traits using contextual clues. We went to how to identify thematic concerns, the easiest way to identify thematic concerns in an excerpt. And today we will be looking at how to identify and illustrate the stylistic devices on the excerpt. So the other two videos that I've done on themes and stylistic devices can also be found on this channel if you watch out for them. Before we delve deep into our study for today, I would like to ask those who are new here to kindly hit onto the subscribe button and turn on the notification bell so that anytime we produce a video like this, YouTube will automatically notify you. Again, to our subscribers, let me continue thanking you. There are various stylistic devices that writers use to engineer, to communicate, and as a vehicle to highlight the various themes and the various the various character traits in their various works of art. I want to first go through basic and simple aspects of style that you are likely to find in any literary text. And one, we have a simile. So as an aspect of style, a simile is used when a writer compares something or maybe someone to another that has a similar quality, maybe by use of like, by use of as to create that vivid picture of what they're talking about. An example is when someone says that that man was as tall as a giraffe. That is a simile. Or the pain was as sharp as a sword. So, or like a sword. That is also simile. Metaphor comes whereby there is that sort of direct comparison in that maybe someone is slow, then the writer decides to say that he was a tortoise, or maybe that man is a lion to show the trait of the man being courageous, being brave. So when there is that sort of direct comparison, there is what we call a metaphor. And in most cases, metaphors and similes, when we talk about them, they should be, someone should be compared to maybe something or someone with a slightly greater quality than the character in focus. Like, you cannot say that she was her mother. Yeah, she was her mother. She was a lion. Create a more vivid picture. There is also, to a greater extent, especially in the text Blossom of the Savannah, the use of local dialect. So some words from the community, in most cases the community from which the writer comes from. The writer introduces some of their native words, some words from their vernacular, into a work of art. We have seen more of it from Henry Olekulet's Blossoms of the Savannah, where he introduces some words like Yehiyo Botor, in Kainito, Intoye Nemengalana, and Emwata, and the rest. So we call that local dialect. Again, in a text, if characters are conversing with one another, then we say there is dialogue. One character says this and another character says another thing. Always the conversations are enclosed in quotation marks. Again, apart from dialogue, we also have irony. And irony comes in three levels. We have the verbal irony, where a character says something which is the opposite of what is expected. So I love using this example from A Doll's House, when Torvald Helmer tells Nora the reason as to why he cannot continue to work with Krogstad at the bank. He says that he feels physically ill when he's in the presence of morally deceased people like Krogstad. So the irony comes about when he is right. As the readers, we know that he is right in the presence of one who is also morally deceased, because Nora has also committed a fraud. There is situational irony. An example, in this world we expect that parents should love their children, but in an event that a parent resents and shows disdain for a child, then that is quite an unexpected situation. So that comes out as situational irony. Then there is a dramatic irony. This is normally in plays. We normally find it in plays where characters within a given text do not know really what is going on, but as the readers or the audience, we are quite aware of what is going on in the text. Like to a greater part of the text, A Doll's House by Henry Gibson, Torvald Helmer does not know the secret about Nora's loan, that Nora had procured 250 pounds illegally and at his back from one Krogstad, and used that sum to save his life by taking him to the south in Italy. To a greater part of the text, Torvald does not know that, but as the readers, we are well aware. So in that case, we say there is a dramatic irony. So there are very many aspects of style that we have. I want us to go through our sample excerpt that we've been using for the previous two lessons and see the aspects of style that we can come up with here. And our sample excerpt is still from page 145 to 146 of the text, Blossoms of the Savannah. The first sentence is on page 145, that is of the excerpt. Their parents looked tired and aloof. When they arrived home, their father immediately removed his shoes and slumped into a chair and stared at the ceiling unblinkingly. Then the end of the excerpt is on page 146, where it states, but their mother's mood was completely different. Her previous night's taciturnity had turned into loquacity. So I want us to go through this and see some of the aspects of style that we have there. And I highly recommend the candidates, the viewers who are watching here, to have their texts to follow along. If we look at the second paragraph and the last sentence, had he accepted the arrangement and paid off all his liabilities to the banks, Olekailo would have sneered at Oloisudori and told him to keep his hands off his daughter Reshan. But Olesupeo had declined the offer, effectively throwing him back to the hyena. So the desperation of Olekailo at this point is shown by use of a metaphor. When Olesupeo declines to take over Olekailo's godowns, then a metaphorical statement is used that is akin to throwing him back to the hyena. And the person compared to the hyena in this case is Oloisudori, probably to bring out his blackmail antiques, that he's a blackmailer. So is compared to a hyena. So that is the use of a metaphor. And that aspect of style brings about Torvald's pessimism. Is kind of pessimistic, is kind of resigned to the fate that now he is going to give his daughter Reshan to Oloisudori because Olesupeo has declined to take over his godowns. Some other trait from Olekailo that can be inferred here is that he is materialistic. His acceptance that now to keep his business, he has been thrown back to the hyena, that is Oloisudori, means that he cannot stand up for his daughter Reshan, and that he has kind of pegged his daughter Reshan to these deals between him and Oloisudori. He has accepted that he has been thrown back to the hyena. So to some kind, this implies the materialism and Olekailo's materialistic nature. And I will later on talk about the relevance or the usage of aspects of style. Number two, the following paragraph, Mama Milanoi mission did not fare any better. When she sought advice from her incainito regarding Oloisudori, they candidly responded. So, Mama Milanoi's co-wives, that is Uncle Simeon's wives, in the Ma language are being referred to as incainito. So, a Ma word has been infused into this text, and for that reason, we say there is the use of local dialect. Again, later on in that same paragraph, Uncle Simeon's eldest wife has also been referred to as Yeiobotor. So Yeiobotor and Incainito are illustrations for the use of local dialect. So the desperation of Mama Milanoi and Olekailo comes out through the use of these local aspects of local dialect, because of their anxiety. Oloisudori is just about to come back to take Reshan. They have not discussed this with Reshan, out of their desperation, they run to Mama Milanoi goes to her incognito. Again, there is the use of a simile in this excerpt, where when Mama Milanoi went to seek for the incognito's advice, they candidly responded that she and her husband were behaving like the proverbial greedy hyena that straddled two parallel paths with the ridiculous intention of reaching two destinations simultaneously so as not to miss the meals in either places. So the incognito compare, using like Mama Milanoi and Olekaelo, to the proverbial greedy hyena that tries to straddle two paths, and their intention is to reach the destination, the two destinations at the same time or simultaneously. So this aspect of style, that is the simile, brings about the indecisiveness of Mama Milanoi and Olekaelo. They are indecisive in the sense that they cannot choose to either follow modernity or follow the traditions. They are trying to mix them up with the intention of maybe conveniently reaching their goals for modernity and at the same time reaching their goals for traditions. So that aspect of style brings about the indecisiveness of this couple. Again, looking at this text, looking at this excerpt, we are also able to see what we call the stream of consciousness. And the stream of consciousness is whereby the writer goes into the mind of the various characters and tells us what they are thinking about. Like an example that I can use, not on this excerpt, but there is the journey from Nakuru to Nasela, and seated in the vehicle next to one another, the writer, Henry Olekaelo, peers into what goes on in the mind of Olekaelo, and at the same time what goes on in the mind of Mama Milanoi. There are many other aspects of style that you can find there. Maybe at the comment section, I would be very glad to see more aspects of style that you identify from that excerpt. Lastly, you must also be very careful candidates. Nowadays, I see a trend of not only asking a question on identification and illustration of the aspects of style. Some questions go beyond that. Some questions expect the candidate to identify, illustrate, and give the relevance or comment on the use of that given aspect of style. And no writer uses the aspects of style just for the sake of it, but writers use aspects of style as a means to an end. They use it to achieve something. Like, for example, let us look at the metaphor that was used, throwing him back to the hyena. Olekaelo being thrown back to the hyena. It brings about the pessimism, it brings about the desperation in Olekaelo. Again, when we look at the simile that has been used here, where Mama Milanoi and Olekaelo are being compared to the proverbial greedy hyena, the aspect of style, that is the simile, brings about their indecisiveness. They come out as indecisive. Then again, the desperation in Olekaelo and Mama Milanoi also comes about in the form of the local dialect. she goes to her incognito and the Yobotor to seek for their assistance because they are desperate, they are anxious. Viewers, thank you very much. Let us meet again next time.